everyone. Welcome to the Missouri Instructional Leaders Network, where we bring together Missouri instructional leaders to share their experiences, grow professional relationships, and build curriculum and instruction skills. My name is Valerie Montgomery, and I'm one of your hosts. This morning, we're chatting with a few wonderful ladies from DESE. We have Chrissy Bashore, who is the Director of School Counseling, and Lisa Durking, the Coordinator of School-Based Mental Health. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you and let you guys take the wheel and share this great information you've got for us.
Okay, let me get this going. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so thank you for having us on. As she mentioned, my name is Chrissy Bashore. I'm the coordinator for school counseling and student wellness here at the department. Been here for a little bit over 10 years. Really excited about the work that we do. Lisa Durking will, I'll throw it over to her real quick because we're really excited about her position that's fairly new, and she's just kind of come out of the gate hitting it hard and has done just a phenomenal job. So I just want to give her a chance to introduce herself as well.
Yeah, so my name's Lisa Durking. My position was passed in legislation last year, so I started in October. So I've been here all of about 8 months. So I'm the coordinator of school-based mental health, and Chrissy and I have just kind of been working this out of kind of what's hers, what's mine, and how does all this work together? So some of the things that I'm doing is really kind of pulling in school social workers, school psychologists, some more of those tier 2, tier 3 things, trauma-informed schools, and we'll kind of talk a little bit. So Chrissy's going to start us off with some things, and then I'll take the second half.
Yeah, so did that slide switch? Sometimes it did. Okay, perfect. You'd think technology would be a thing that's hammered out by now, but it's really not. So I appreciate the patience. So a couple of things that I wanted to just talk to you guys about that's kind of hot off the press and things we're working on right now, in addition to all the other things that school counseling does. But really wanted to focus on a couple of things. So first off, back in December, our school board really became invested in social emotional learning. We know that behaviors were elevated. We know that teacher retention and recruitment is a challenge. We know that we see professionals leaving the field of education. And so the conversation really started talking about behaviors and how do we mitigate, or how do we help our teachers? How do we help our students? How do we help our communities, our parents, with trying to really focus on social emotional learning for our students. And so the board back in December charged the department with developing K-12 learning standards for SEL. So what we did, when that conversation started happening, we took an internal look on what the department already does. Straight away, we went to our MSIP 6 to see how this all ties in, because we know that MSIP 6 is a driver for our schools and for our administrators, and we know just how important social emotional learning is. So as you see on the screen there, when we talk about SEL, we really talk about those intra and interpersonal skills. So how do we work with others, but how do we know ourselves? So we looked at MSIP 6, and you'll see on the screen TL4. That's really where we could identify where those intra and interpersonal skills are in MSIP 6. So that was kind of our framework of starting this process. Then we started looking at what other states were doing. Are other states focusing on comprehensive K-12 SEL standards? What's our state doing? And within our department, there's several floors, several offices within the Department of Education, and so often we find ourselves siloed. So it gave us the opportunity to reach across floors, reach across sections to see who was doing what in this overall concept of social emotional learning. So what we learned is that 28 states have already adopted standalone standards for K-12, and then 22 states, including Missouri, had those SEL standards embedded. So in our health education, in our school counseling curriculum, in our school counseling curriculum, we have 3 domains: academic, career, and social emotional learning. So we could see pockets of really excellent SEL topics and professional development and conversation around SEL, but it was still kind of disjointed. We weren't aligning our services. So that gave us, that internal audit of the department gave us this overall picture of, okay, let's bring all these things together. What we also learned is that our preschool already had standalone SEL standards. So what an awesome place to start to build this comprehensive approach. We're really looking at PK all the way through 12 and beyond. So on this screen, there's some of those embedded SEL efforts that the department had. This is not comprehensive, but this is some pretty good pockets of where we could see those SEL standards kind of shining out. So then to even further that, before we started taking the team to work, we had done several different crosswalks to see what Missouri was missing. And that we took anything from CASEL to school counseling curriculum to 16 habits of success. We took all of these pieces and we crosswalked it and really landed on what you see on the screen, this fostering our best selves. So this has not been released. We've talked about it several times. It's kind of that placemat for SEL and kind of the foundation for SEL. And it's really, we developed this before COVID, when COVID first hit. Little did we know it would really be the driver of where we're at even 2 years later. We keep going back to this. We keep looking at where are we at with ourselves and with others, and where are the deficiencies? And so what we've kind of learned over the conversation of the last couple of years is that what we see is that we're really kind of lacking on the interpersonal skills, how we relate to others, how we work well with others, all knowing that interpersonal skills are just as equally as important. So you'll see this a lot coming out in the department within the next few weeks, the next couple of months, as the SEL standards continue to get developed and rolled out. So with all that, it leads us up to these standards. So I wish I would have had a big draft on this. I took the draft off, but this is what the team decided. So after the board charged the department with the development, we kind of followed the pieces of 1490, which is how state standards are developed. But because these are learning standards, we didn't have to follow the process to the T. So we did have a work group that was formed. It's 29 members, educators, mental health providers, school-based mental health providers, private practice, teachers, counselors, the whole gamut of who these experts you would expect to be at the table to develop these standards. We're really, really excited about it. It's a very historical moment for the state. So after months of work, we got together in February. We wanted to have it wrapped up by May. They did finally land on these 15 standards. They're draft standards right now. We actually meet this Thursday and Friday to finalize these standards. We went to the board in May and asked for an extension to have this working group, because also the team felt it was very important that we wanted this to be something that we could package and hand deliver for educators, that across the board, you could pick this up and run with it. So definition, what do some of these terms mean? Indicators beyond just the standard, how do we implement these and really make an impact? So that will be the charge the next 2 days, this Thursday and Friday, to really hammer those out and to finalize the standards and the definitions and indicators. We're really, really excited about that. We'll come back in August to present to the board for their final approval. And then after that, we'll really look at implementation and what that means. We know a lot of districts are using a lot of different social emotional learning tools, and that's great. It is a local control state. So we want to take these standards that we have used all those different parts of that I mentioned earlier with health and PE and CASEL and school counseling curriculum, everything that we do in the department, educators can see themselves in these 15 standards. And that was the whole purpose behind it. We didn't want it to be an add-on. We wanted it to be an embedding of what they're doing. And it just helps everybody see in the district, they can see themselves in these standards. So we're really, really excited about that. So stay tuned in August state board meeting. That'll be a good one, because that'll be when they'll approve, or we'll have to go back to the drawing board. The board loved it in May, so we don't anticipate any more extensions requests, but right after that, it'll be looking at the implementation and how we really roll this out. This is a graphic that I believe I shared a couple of years ago. We continue to work on this. This is all those initiatives that we talked about with SEL in the department on this graph. So it's interactive. If an educator gets on the website and needs something in school counseling, they can click on that. For gifted, they can click on that. So this is really an SEL hub for everything that the department offers in social emotional learning. This will forever be growing as we continue to adopt and bring new things in. So that's just kind of, sometimes the DESE site is overwhelming and it's difficult to find things. So this was kind of that attempt to put it all in one, like a one-stop shop. So really excited about that. Just kind of helps unite and unite everything that we have. The other main thing that we wanted to share with you, and the reason why this is important is because this is actually a graduation requirement. So last year, legislature passed the mental health awareness curriculum training. As you can see on the screen, there's some pretty prescriptive components of that. It has to be, every student in 9th through 12th has to have a mental health awareness training in public schools, and then it has to be delivered through the existing health and PE curriculum. So it was very prescriptive. And then at the end of that was a DESE charge that we just have to promulgate a rule. So we developed a team of experts that came in with health and PE, our school counseling, and then we had our partners and friends over at the Department of Mental Health take a glance at it, kind of a blind review of what the team landed on. The kicker with this one is that it was a graduation requirement for 2022-23, and we did not get that out in time. The team worked very hard, but because there's a rule process behind it, it's really about a 9-month process to get the rule promulgated. So here's just another part of that advisory that I had mentioned, that it is a graduation requirement. Here's what the team landed on. Here are the 4 domains. Now this looks very simple, but there are actually a lot of indicators that follow this work that are not on this screen. So as you can see, there's 13 mental health learning objectives and 54 course level objective or expectations. So when you see the document, we just didn't want to say, okay, here's 4 domains, you teach it how you want, but we wanted to build on that and say, hey, you're already doing this stuff in your health and PE classes. You're already doing it. What we did and the team did is just pulled those out and made it its own unit. So it's actually, the team recommended a 3-week unit because we do feel like it's very, very important, but we also know that health and PE is a half a credit and there's just not enough weeks in the day in the school year to teach this, along with everything else that health and PE has to teach. So we sent it out for public comment June 1st on these 4 domains with a recommendation that there's a 2-hour training. So that is open to the public right now for comment. We've received a few comments. It will close June 30th. We'll take those comments and we'll synthesize those to see what our stakeholders recommend or any suggestions that they may have to adjusting these 4 domains. The public comment's a little bit meatier. You can see the 4 domains, but it also has some other language in it. But we're excited to see what that comes back for to get this out, because we know that superintendents and our educators are just worried about this because it is a graduation requirement. So what we've said up to this point, this is the next question I always get. If it's not out, then what? Because it is a requirement and it's on the ICAP. And so we have to check that box, and we want to make sure we're doing our due diligence of actually making sure we hit this. So what we have said and recommended is that you're already doing it. Your health and PE educators are doing it. This just pops it out and makes it a little more isolated and puts the importance on it that is behind the reason of this piece of law. A lot of our districts, and Lisa will touch on this in a little bit, use mental health first aid. So if you're using something of that nature, then you're really covering this piece of it, but you have to be doing something because it is important, and educators across the state know how important this topic is right now with mental health. So once the public comment period closes, we will go back to the board in August and we will share those comments with the state board. Then we will look at how we roll that out and deliver it to schools where they can make sure that they are hitting that piece of requirement. And then the rule will be finalized next year. It takes quite some time for these rules to roll out. So we're really excited about our connections with everybody that's helped on these teams. They're phenomenal. When stuff comes across our desk at the department, we make sure we bring in the experts and those that it's going to impact. So all this work that you can see that comes out to everyone, be assured that it's there's a team of experts that come in and really has they really are the voice of this work, because we know that they're the ones that are doing this in the buildings. Really have had a lot of things come across the last couple of years in legislation that has to do with mental health and social emotional learning. So we're really, really excited about these two initiatives. And I'm sure there will be more in the next, as we keep moving through every legislative session, but it is an exciting time to be in our sections and to be able to work on this stuff and to help districts. We know there's a great need for it. Anything that you need to know about school counseling? I always like to end with sharing this before I pass it over to Lisa, because school counseling has its own listserv. As Lisa builds her section, she's got a page, but we're hoping to set her up a listserv too. But anything that Lisa needs to share out or that we share out, go to this, sign up for school counseling listserv on our page at that link down there, and everything that school counselors need to know, or that has some school-based mental health behind it, will come out on this. We have administrative memos, but sometimes that doesn't get to our school counselors and our school-based mental health friends. So if you are on this listserv, you'll always get it. We try to do a really good job of sending stuff out through that to keep everybody in the know, because there's a lot in this world of school counseling that's ever changing. So we always try to keep everybody updated. So if you get on there and click on there, we'll keep you updated, and you'll see all the cool stuff that's coming out. And then I will pass it over to Lisa.
Okay, so I'm going to first talk about, so we have some mental health grants that are available and that are out, and then some that are coming available. So you'll see at the top, it says published, or some of them will say in development. So I'm going to point that out whenever we go through. And then I'm also going to go through some resources. There's a few resources that we really hit on. There are lots of resources out there, and I think sometimes it gets overwhelming with all the things that are out there. So we just really, there's a few that we want to point out, but just know that there are lots and lots of resources out there. So first things first, so Lisa Deerking, again, coordinator of school-based mental health. So this first one is the Immediate Responsive Services Grant. This was available to all districts across the state to apply for. So, and I extended the deadline, I think at least twice, if not 3 times, and bugged people about it like crazy, trying to get everybody to apply. All but 200 districts did apply. 357 were awarded. And so the allocation was based on enrollment. So the minimum was around 23,000 based on enrollment, and then it went up from there. And so the award period, it started in March, this last March, and it goes all the way through September 30th of 2024. So this is funded out of ESSER 3 money. So what can they do with this? So people call it the mental health grant, or IRSG, or immediate responsive grant. So there's all kinds of little words that superintendents are using. So what can they do? So they could hire a school counselor, a school social worker, a school psychologist. They could contract for services out of, say, like Burrell or Compass or the CCBHO that they have in their area. Telehealth, they could contract with maybe the university in the area to have a graduate student, a senior graduate student come in and be able to provide those services. The overall goal was to increase access to mental health resources. We were really trying to focus on those tier 3 services, so those small groups and individuals. So this one is it's going right now. Districts are spending money and putting these services in place. And so if you're listening to this and you have questions about it, maybe you're like, hey, does our district have that? Feel free to call me, ask. If you're a superintendent, you're like, that sounds familiar. Again, feel free to call or email any questions that you might have about it. So, all right. So the next one, this one you'll see at the top. I want to be very, very clear. That one says in development. This one has changed. I'm calling it 3.0 right now, because we're hoping that it will be published here in the next couple of weeks. But this one's changed a little bit. So if you're listening to this and you're like, that doesn't sound like it the last time she talked about it, well, that's because it's in development. So things change. So the goal of this one is to provide students safe, healthy, and supportive learning opportunities and environments. This comes down from the federal government. So it comes down from the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, and it's called the Stronger Connections Grant. So this one, there's very prescriptive things. It has to be for high need LEAs, and it has to be a competitive grant. This one goes longer. It'll go all the way through September 2026. So what does it mean to be a high need LEA? We put it out for public comment back in December. What does that mean? What should it mean? So we had public comment and we kind of analyzed that, looked at that. And the things that kind of rose to the top were school mental health professional ratios. So that 1 to 250 ratio is the recommended ratio. So we pulled those numbers. Poverty, so your free and reduced lunch, and then chronic absenteeism. So the goal is that 90% of your students are there 90% of the time. That's the kind of gold standard. Well, not gold standard, but whatever the standard, whatever the thing is. And so so those are the things that we're using a composite score for to define if you're a high need LEA. So if we're going to make a list. And so if you're on that list, then you can apply for this grant. So again, we're looking to pull this out hopefully in the next few weeks so be looking for that. Award amounts are going to be determined. There's going to be 3 tiers of amounts that people can apply for. It's a multi-year, like I said, it's 3 years. The focus areas, you can read there on your screen what they're about. What can you do with this? You can hire people, you can do professional development, parent involvement, improving that school climate and culture. We know that, I mean, it's all over the news, mental health for students, mental health for staff. It's hard right now. Schools are hard. So this goal is this grant is really like the goal that's up there. That's the goal of this grant. I will say any district that applies for this grant, you're going to need to read the guidance document. Please read the guidance document. A lot of work's been put into it. It has all the answers that you're looking for in there. And so anyways, I can talk all day about that one, but we'll move on to the next one. This one is published. So this one doesn't mean as much to you guys, but I wanted to touch on it because it's important, because that first grant I talked about where you can hire people, I know there's not as many people out there to hire as we'd like. So one of the things that we did with some ESSER II money was to give some ESSER II money to higher ed. So we put this initiative out there for higher ed. And so we were hoping, our goal is to increase that pipeline, try to get more school-based mental health professionals into the field. So we put it out there. So we had 20 programs at 12 institutions apply and receive funding. So what could they do? So about $15,000 per program. They could use that money for tuition reimbursement, admissions test, all kinds of things. Most of them did some scholarships with that funding. So, but just know we hear you. We know it's hard for hiring school-based mental health people, and we're trying to help you. And hopefully this will help in the future. And there's also, just so you know, there's some federal funding coming down as well. So this was our part in it, but there's some federal funding coming down with some just demonstration grants that 3 of our colleges in Missouri received to try and again help with this initiative to increase the pipeline of school-based mental health professionals. So just be aware that people are trying. So all right, the next one. Okay, so so that's all the grant stuff. So if you're somebody in a district and you're like, well, I need to know more about mental health grants, feel free to call me, email me. I can kind of get you on the right track with that. So, but we want to make sure you know about resources. So if you want to know about the grants, this is the website to go to. If you want to know more about mental health resources, this is the website to go to. So you'll go to DESE.mo.gov and you just scroll down a little bit, and then you'll see this mental health resources for school staff and students. And you just click there and it'll go right to it. So we want you to definitely know about that. And then there's a few resources, like I said, that we want to touch on. So this one, mental health first aid. With ESSER funding, we wanted to make sure that there's an opportunity for districts to have mental health first aid training. Right now, there's about 72 districts that have taken advantage of that. We want that number to grow and grow and grow. So this is free to districts. I want to repeat, this is free to districts. On those IRSG, the immediate responsive services applications, I had districts saying, hey, I want to use this funding for that. And I emailed back and said, hey, you don't have to do that. It's free. Just go on this website and sign up. So on the website that I just showed you, where you go to DESE.mo.gov, scroll down a little bit, there's a link for this. So you just go in, you put your district information and you say what date you would like a training, and they'll hook you up. It's a fantastic opportunity. And so what is it? What is mental health first aid? Well, It teaches you to identify, understand, and respond to signs of mental health and substance use challenges. It trains your teachers, your bus drivers. It's a training for everybody. And like I said, right now there's funding for it to be free. And so we want you to be able to take advantage of that. One of the things that we did to kind of help connect districts to maybe some people that you know and that you're used to is that we trained the RPDCs. Each RPDC has 2 youth mental health first aid trainers now, and they're available. And they also are going to start to do some trainings at their RPDC. So you have 2 opportunities. One, you can just go on the website, say, hey, I have a professional development day in October on October 3rd. I want you to come to our district. That might be a Saturday. I have no idea, but I want you to come to our district on October 3rd, and we're going to have 30 people. So that would be 2 instructors, however many instructors, and they'll set you up and they'll get you going. Or you might be like, you know what? We don't want to figure that out. Okay, RPDCs, they're going to put it on my learning plan, and you can just sign up that way. So we just want you to make sure that you're aware of this free training that's available and awesome. Okay, so the next one, I always want to tell people about this as well. So this is the 988 toolkit. We all know suicide is a really big deal, and we need to know about it, and you need to know about your resources for it. So this toolkit, definitely click on it. It's very friendly. One of the reasons that we put this together, it was not DESE, but it was the MSPN schools committee put this together. It's because there's so many resources out there. So there's so many resources out there, but yet we don't know how to exactly utilize them or what's the most important. And so this toolkit brings together the DESE model policy. It brings together the MSCA crisis manual. It brings all these good pieces together in a really helpful, easy to see way. There's video links. There's links for actual documents of, okay, so what do I do if there's a suicide, and what do I say to the media? What do I do beforehand? What can we do beforehand? There's also links, and you'll see this, so the little orange, blue, and purple. So there's a virtual toolkit for 988 supplies. There's a physical toolkit if you want to have stickers and pins and those kind of things. There's a link for that in this. Definitely, anybody that's watching this, please, please, please take advantage of these resources. We want 988 to get everywhere. Missouri is actually a leader in the 988 stuff. So definitely want to get the resource out there. All right. Another one. So youth behavioral health liaisons. I want these to grow like crazy. I want us to have hundreds of these. Right now, I think there's 32 with hopes of growing. Or maybe they grew with once the governor signs the budget. I'm not sure. But I know for sure there's 32. And so these 32 individuals are assigned to certain areas of the state. So every district, every single school district has access to a youth behavioral health liaison. If you need to know who yours is, shoot me an email. I can tell you who your person is. Funny note, or a side note, the governor actually had one of the youth behavioral health liaisons and the person that they helped in their school as part of his state of the state state of the state, whatever that thing's called, whenever he talks about the cool things that are happening. Anyhow, so what is the good thing about youth behavioral health liaisons? Well, they're not necessarily connected to a specific child. They're somebody who you can access in a school. Courts can also access, like all kinds of people can access them, parents can access them, but you specifically in a school, you can access them. Let's say there's a crisis and you're like, I don't know what to, I need somebody within the health. I need somebody. There's somebody you can call. If you have a parent who's contacted you and they're like, my child needs to get into a psychiatrist and we've been trying and trying and trying, and I don't know what to do. This is somebody you can call. You can read the stuff that's on the slide. But this is an important thing that I want schools to know about. And so definitely look them up. Their other name is called YIBLs, but I don't know, YIBLs, it's kind of a fun name, but youth behavioral health liaisons. So they're connected to your CCBHO. They're connected to your BURL and your COMPASS and your community health, mental health agency. Okay. Missouri Child Psychiatric Access Program, or fondly known as MO-CPAP, for schools. So it started out this program started out more as a pediatric psychiatry. And so if you are a pediatrician, which you guys aren't pediatricians, but let's say a lot of people are parents. So I'm a parent and I go to the pediatrician, but my pediatrician needs to maybe talk to a psychiatrist because I don't necessarily want to take my child to the psychiatrist, but I'm really comfortable with my pediatrician, but they want to consult with a psychiatrist. This is a free program where my pediatrician can get signed up and they can consult with that psychiatrist. It's super cool. After I learned about this, I told my pediatrician about it. I'm like, hey, did you know about this? And they said no. So then they signed up and it was great. But then the extension, so that's how it started. Then the extension is the schools program. And so the cool thing is now schools have access to this. And so it's a multidisciplinary team. This schools program has a school counselor, school social worker, school nurse, and they also have access to a child psychiatrist. And so a school that's enrolled, they can call up and they can consult and refer, they can get these services and be able to talk to people. The other really cool thing about this is they just launched a great hub or website where, let's say you're a school and you're like, I need to give a parent a handout on ADHD, and there's 1,000 handouts out there, but this website is fantastic. It has brought a lot of great resources together, and so definitely recommend looking into this program. Gosh, there's so much to talk about. Okay. Trauma-informed schools, and so this is our actual like youth suicide awareness and prevention model policy that I talked about earlier. It's linked in the toolkit, but here it is again. And then you're going to hear more about this in the future from us. It's a thing that was passed in legislation, Trauma-Informed Schools Initiative. It's super fantastic. This is the link for it. Everybody should know about it, but I want to make sure it's on your radar and make sure that you're informed about it and know about it. And trauma-informed schools, it's not a once and done. It's more of a journey. It's a paradigm shift. And so I just wanted to give that plug for it. So that way you're aware and have the link, or, know that it's on our website. And gosh, there's so many resources. Again, there's so much out there. Those were just a few things for us to talk about as far as the grants and the resources go. And I hope that you know that Chrissy and I are available. We are here. We're here to answer your questions. We're here as a resource. We gave a presentation the other day to new administrators and superintendents, and one of our colleagues said, we are in the business, and I'm not going to get it right. Chrissy, please, chime in and help me get it right. But it was, we are in the business of customer service. Like that's what we're here for. So when my phone rings, which it's rang, it's quiet because I made it be quiet. But when it rings, we answer and we're like, hey, what can we do to help you? How can we help? So I hope you hear that from us.
Yeah, thank you. This has been really great information. And I can tell from both of you, I can tell that you're very passionate about this. And so I'm really excited to share this with our members. I would love to have you guys back. It sounds like you've got a very busy summer, all these things you're in the works on, but I'd love to have you back periodically to just keep bringing this up, because like Lisa, your position is new, and I think a lot of this is new for us. As school leaders, we've always had these challenges, but now we're building this infrastructure to actually support the whole child and the teachers. And like you said, our teacher retention we've got to do something about it. So yeah, thank you guys both so much for this information. I can't wait to share it with everybody. And I will encourage them to reach out if they have questions.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. Have a wonderful day.